Girls Like Girls is directed by Hayley Kiyoko, and it's essentially a queer coming-of-age story about a teenage girl who meets another teenage girl, and naturally they quickly become friends, only for that friendship to blossom into something more that brings them both joy as well as melancholy. So in the process, it's a great learning experience for both parties. So I don't consider myself fully familiar with Hayley Kiyoko. I listened to some of her music right before I saw this movie, and it's just not for me. Also, I guess my ex forced me at gunpoint to watch Lemonade Mouth a few years ago. I know there's the Girls Like Girls song, which is featured in the end credits of this movie, and that inspired the music video for Girls Like Girls, which I haven't seen, and then that apparently inspired this movie. So I have the capacity to enjoy pretty much any type of film. I don't care what genre it is. I think that if something is honest and has a new perspective, then it can be interesting and compelling. While the performances in this movie were pretty good, especially from Zach Braff as the main girl's dad, I actually really liked him a lot. Really felt for that character even with his small amount of screen time. I guess despite the fact that this material is clearly super personal and a lot of these situations I feel like you might be able to heavily relate to, despite the fact that there's a lot of relatable subject matter in this movie, especially if you were or are a queer teen, there were definitely certain situations in this movie that I've seen myself in. I never got fully immersed into the world of this movie. I always was aware I was watching a movie. That's because I don't read much of a heavy cinematic influence for Girls Like Girls. I could be totally wrong, but I do sort of get the impression that Hayley Kiyoko isn't quite a huge cinephile with all these lists of references and inspirations, and that's totally fine. I'm in no way a film elitist. I think that anyone should be allowed to tap into whatever medium of art they want to, as long as they can express themselves. And I'm not saying this movie isn't a personal self-expression, but there's also nothing interesting to me about it on a filmmaking level. Visually, I felt this was a bit too standard and honestly way too clean for what this is trying to be. Yes, these characters are messy and make bad decisions, as a lot of people do in their youth. I wish the filmmaking kind of reflected that more. I wish that we had more of a gritty, handheld type camera style and maybe killed some of the sappy music here and there. And in general, yeah, this takes place over the course of a summer. These characters are out doing activities and swimming and other things, yet they constantly look perfectly clean and like they just had their makeup done. It's elements like that that pull me out and make me just aware, okay, I'm watching an act. And frankly, for about, I think like the first 30 to 40-ish minutes of this movie, I really wasn't that into it. I just saw a lot of surface level cliches from other coming of age movies I've seen before, and was really quite bored and waiting for something interesting to grab me. Thankfully, there was a pretty compelling scene around the halfway mark of this movie where the characters finally had this real raw interaction between each other. That was a really sweet moment. It tugged on my heartstrings a bit, made me actually feel something. It's easily the best scene in the movie. There's also this party scene that I really related to because I've been in that position before, that the main girl was in, and there were parts where I was like, ah, damn, it sucks. You have to experience this, you have to learn this. It's kind of just part of growing up. But again, a lot of that is just from an outside perspective, where I was just sort of thinking like, oh, okay, Hayley Kiyoko is writing about perhaps a real life experience she went through, but never forgetting that facade. And I feel like that's kind of the point of cinema, is to create a magical facade so people are actually stepping into your shoes and viewing life from your perspective. And I'd say that honestly, even from like listening to her music and just getting a grasp of her artistic sensibilities, none of it feels super specific to me. A lot of it are these sort of broad strokes of emotions that are sort of meant to connect to and to appeal to a large group of people. And not saying that always won't work. There are definitely some more mainstream things that I enjoy as well, but more often than not, that's just not the type of art that interests me personally. Not much to say about this one. I feel like if you're a fan of Hayley Kiyoko and her body of work, and are maybe a young queer person who doesn't particularly view film from the same overly critical asshole perspective that I do, you'll probably enjoy it, have a good time, you might have a good cry. But for me, I'm gonna give Girls Like Girls a 5 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a good one.